or at AMBOY Quality Meats, we carry Dakota Ranch Primes. This is called a whole packer brisket. This is two parts of a brisket that you could buy commercially. One is called the point and one's called the flat. Flat is less fatty. This looks like an Oreo. You'll see when I open it because there's 2 pieces of meat and fat right in the middle. And I like to start from the bottom, or the meat side, not the fat side, down first, because it has this big piece of fat right here. And this you have to take off, because once I cut it, you're gonna see that it's literally a big block of fat and you can't render that while you cook it. So to get started, I get my knife here and I basically like feel around and I run my knife along that big fat piece of fat, and it literally just peels off. So yeah, you take this big old lump of fat off, and I'll cut it in half. And you can see that it is just pure fat. That will never cook out, so you want to take it off. Then I just do some light trimming on the meat side. You want to cut with the grain of the meat. This basically is like to ensure that whenever you throw a rub on or some type of seasoning, it sticks, because if you don't take the silver skin off or the excess fat, then it just slides right off. You don't have to be too crazy about it, because I guarantee that you won't even notice it if you get a majority of it off. I like to put my hand underneath the brisket and kind of like help it move along. So that's pretty much it on the bottom side. Then we'll flip it over. When you flip it over like this, the first thing you want to do is locate this right here, which is like, I believe they call it like the mohawk or an ear, and that we will cut off. I like to just like find where it would be even, and that would be right here, and I would just slice that. Don't throw this away. This is burger meat. A lot of this can be used as burger meat as well. This is why I like using Dakota, because Dakota has a really good surface area. Usually when you get packer briskets, there's a lot of fat. This one has a nice even layer of fat, except right here. And whenever I get to this part, I usually just make it even, kind of like what we did with the ear. And you'll see that's all fat. Again, that's not going to cook out. So that's usually where I use as a guide. I break it open and I see how far can I actually get down into this. Boom. You can see I cut into a little bit of the meat right there. So now I know how deep this fat actually runs. So I'm just gonna even it out. And don't throw this fat away. You can render it down and turn it into tallow. Or if you need to like make your lean ground beef into more juicier ground beef, you can just always add this into your grind. So there, now you kind of have like a good starting point to where your brisket is gonna end up. My next move is I like to flatten this out, because sometimes it'll come curled or whatever. So you want to flatten this out and make sure that you're getting a good lay of the land. See, this part right here is way thinner than this part right here. this right here will just become dry and almost like burnt. So you're gonna want to take that off. This is kind of like the guide on where you want to start trimming your brisket. So what I do, and this right here is all fat, and there's also this steam end where it gets kind of steamed from the processing at the larger packer. So we're gonna cut all that off. What I like to do is I like to draw it out with the back of my knife. So I know that this is all gonna be a good brisket meat. So I'm going like this, and I'm drawing my cut line like that. And you can see here, there's a ton of fat right here. So I'm gonna trim that anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and go down to there. So now I know where I'm headed. After that, I'm just gonna trim. I'll do it slow so that you guys can see. You wanna put your hand here so it pushes the meat down. You wanna put your hand right on the flat, holding the meat down. Now, I kind of got a 1-inch cut throughout this whole thing. It's a good start. The hard part is done because the blade has already entered the fattiest part of the meat, and the fat is usually the hardest part to cut. So now you just want to go back, retrace your steps, and cut through. Boom. Just like that. That's your trim. Now, I get a lot of shit on my Instagram because I trim so much off, but I have a burger joint. All this goes into my burger. It doesn't get wasted. And if you're at home and you have that, use it for sausage making or making your own burgers. Don't throw this away. Or you can dice this up like this and like make a stew out of it. So don't get rid of that. Always use that. Now I have my basic shape of my brisket. I'm gonna keep trimming off the fat because now you can see how much fat I have right there. So you just wanna give it a nice trim, and you wanna taper it off like this. Because when you're smoking, it's all about the aerodynamics of the smoke hitting your brisket. So you kind of like want to soften all the edges. That looks good. I think we're gonna be good on that side. I'm gonna cut some more of this fat off right here, because what's gonna happen is this is gonna cook down and it's gonna sweat and it's gonna pool. So I'm just gonna cut off and even this out. Just like that. Cool. And then here, on this side, kind of fucked up because there's still a little bit of that chunk right here. So I'm just gonna slice that off. Even that out. Now we're at the point side. This part right here is all fat. That's the end of the decal. That won't render out. Just like all this other pieces right here, it's super thick and fatty. So I like to cut it out. But I learned this from, I think, Mighty Joe, where I kind of curve the knife this way so that I'm keeping the aerodynamics in mind. Just like that. So you see, I cut that fat off, but I also rounded out that edge. I have some more over here that I'm just gonna scoop out. So this is that block of fat. I'm gonna cut the lean off of there, put that into my burger meat, and then again, it's all fat, so you don't need it. You can easily just stop there. That would be a really cool smoked brisket from when you slice the flat all the way to the point. You're gonna have really great cuts, but I'm a little bit crazy. So I see a little bit more fat over here. So I'm gonna just run my knife along that and cut it out. All right, and that's it. She's ready to smoke. See, looks like a pill. And that's kind of the goal. All of this, when you cook it, will shrink up like that. And it'll just be perfect slices all the way through. And that is how you do an Amboy trim on a Packer brisket. There you go, packaged, ready to go to its home. To my boy Justin Boullois, the director of the burger show. That one is for you, buddy.